Hello, my name is Daniel Sweetser, and I'm reading from my novel Hope Starts Small. This morning I'm reading Chapter 8, Part 5, More Dreams. During this waiting season, Frank and Constance would talk quite a bit about what would go where in the field. One of Constance's requirements going in was that there would be enough garden space to grow food for the whole family. Frank worked out that they would need roughly 200 square feet per person, or 1,200 square feet in total. He tried to measure this in the field, but it was awkward. He didn't have the right tools to measure long distances. This would become an impediment throughout the project. For the moment, he tried just using paces to measure things out. Again, the neighbor must have thought he was nuts, walking and counting in that field over and over again. There was a clear boundary between where the yard should end and the field should begin. That was helpful. In the middle of the lot, there was a small playground that was set parallel to the goods shed, so that the playground was in the center of the lot and the shed was on the east side. Frank had installed the greenhouse on the west side of the lot, in parallel with the other two structures. What this did was produce a sort of line between living space and where the field could go. From that, Frank began to measure where the outer and inner fences could go. His goal was to put it back some from the property line so he would not be an annoyance to the neighbors. This gave him clear boundaries for the field itself. Once Frank knew that he needed roughly 1,200 square feet for the family, he decided to try and work his way back from the edge of the field closest to the house. His thinking was that Constance would rather be able to work closer to the house on the garden, and his field of blueberries could be set back some as they would eventually need less attention. He knew he wanted the area behind the good shed to be for the blackberries, so the fence for the regular field was marked out at an angle. No one cared if the garden was symmetrical. He eventually settled on a division point between the garden and blueberry field that he was happy with. It gave Constance more than enough room for a garden, and it also left him with a delightfully square, or almost square, blueberry field. Once the boundaries were determined, the next question was what to put in the garden. Frank and Constance would talk about this regularly. Constance wasn't picky. As long as they chose foods the family would actually eat, she would be happy. Both of them agreed that perennials were ideal so they could be a long-term benefit. This was a common theme for them, perennials. They planned on berry bushes, of course, but along with that they had a strong preference for other things that would persist, like a patch of onions that could spread and grow, or strawberries, or asparagus, or small fruit trees. The trick with fruit trees is that they're land greedy, and that bothered Frank. In a field that could hold over 120 blueberry bushes, he might have only been able to fit 15 to 20 trees, and that felt silly to him, like a waste of the space. But Frank and Constance liked the idea of diversity as well, and so they did dream of planting trees, just not in the garden or the field. So they started to spec out nooks and crannies all over the yard where they thought something useful could be planted. In the process, Frank would start to notice things that were already in the yard, especially the small blackberry plants that were cropping up in some of the garden areas. He was pretty sure these were a gift from the chipmunks, squirrels, and rabbits that shared their home. Things began to take shape in their minds, and it was exciting. But there would be so much work to do before they would see any of it come to fruition. And of course, it wasn't time yet. So at a certain point, they stopped talking about it and let daily life take over until the ground was ready and the days were warm. All right, thanks for listening. Have a great day.